Hey everybody, Patriot Sons podcast, episode 140. I just made a quick title change. They aren't really our friends. JC and I were talking in the crane room, and we're just mentioning some of the places in the world that look. You can't change cultures. You just can't change cultures. You can't make them Western. You never can. And I said, yeah, we should leave those places. He goes, well, yeah, we should. I said, but we need runways. And I said, we don't have to be their friends to have runways there. So I want the runways. Why? Because I want to be able to go have a conversation with somebody in 7 minutes, not 7 hours.
We need to be able to project power.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. As Reagan said best, the only language they understand is the roar of our guns.
That's it. That's
And
it.
I want you to look how more cooperative Venezuela has been since they heard the latest roar of our guns. Now I know the quagmireologists among us were looking for a big quagmire down in Venezuela, and they were all over that. None of those apparatchiks down there want to have happen to them what happened to Maduro.
No,
None
no.
of them. And they know that it can.
Oh, they're playing ball. They are
Right.
playing ball. And
Yes.
the brilliant move done by the commander in chief was to leave the regime in charge and just
Yes.
say, I can get you. I can get you. So here's what I got, guys. I want you to do this now, and they're like,
Right.
"Fuck, I guess, okay."
Yeah, we'll do it. Because 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 as Henry the Longshank said, next it could be my head in that box.
Sure does. I
That that
if
is the diplomacy that they understand right there.
I if all right, it's an if then. If we maintain at least a one-seat majority in the House, in the midterms, I
Yes.
predict Trump takes back Bagram Air Force Base. I predict because it's an hour away from China at the speeds we travel. It's 10 minutes away from Iran. It is like strategically, and we don't want anything else. We won't even go out into the town. We'll cater, we'll bring in restaurants to the Air Force Base. We won't bother any of you. Not at all. You guys can go ahead and herd your goats. Yeah, I said herd. You know
You
what I'm
can
talking about.
you can take your little boys out back and do
Yeah,
what you do to them. Yeah, that's fine.
we're
Right.
not even gonna look at you, but we're taking back that airstrip because of its strategic location, on the planet, and it can house, I don't know, 100,000, if necessary,
Uh-huh.
airmen, right? And what we we don't fight. I've talked about this with Paul. We don't fight ground wars anymore. We learned our lesson in the 70s,
You shouldn't.
and then we did some ground warfare right through the 2000s with Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was just brutal. And there was no, it was because they weren't given. Here's the problem: just like Vietnam, the Bushes, they never gave the authority to go in and just win. They said you can win a battle, but then you have to withdraw. And as you're withdrawing, we're losing people, we're losing assets, we're losing. Trump's not like that. And Trump's like, you know what?
Oh,
I
no,
don't even want to put a person on the ground, but when I do, I'm going to put seven of them on the ground with a discombobulator weapon, whatever the fuck that is.
or whatever it was that he sent in after Baghdadi. It was obviously the same thing
Right?
with the dog. And then
My
and then he stands there and looks in the camera and he says, and he died a coward's death like a dog.
like
And
a
and
dog.
and
He
the media
died
and the media is
like a
like,
dog.
someone
He was
how does he say?
crying. I
He
said,
says,
don't cry. Don't cry.
and now the
Faceless.
300 of them that were crying have been fired at the Washington Post. And someone says, "Well, what do you think about that?" I said, "It's a good start."
What are your thoughts on right, Jeff Bezos being the majority shareholder, not the only shareholder? This is the way companies work. Like Elon's not the only shareholder in SpaceX. He's the majority shareholder.
Right, right.
What do you think is going to be the pressure from their board of directors to get rid of them so they can get a different majority shareholder to subsidize the propaganda that Jeff just said, I can't afford to pay for this shit anymore, guys. Start writing news stories and I'll keep you, but we can't sell the propaganda you were writing.
We can't sell the slop. Now, the only question is this: you know that part of one of the reasons why Jeff got involved, and convince me I'm wrong, is the Washington Post was taking USAID money,
Uh,
and with USAID defunct and not having budgetary authority, the money to subsidize the losses has been cut off.
right,
And
right.
Bezos is first and foremost a capitalist, and I always wondered why in the world he would do the Washington Post. It's because the government was covering his losses. That's why.
Well, be knowing that going into that, but why would somebody want the WAPO in general? It's because it's a basic staple legacy media. It's a
Right, it's an
collectible. It's a
organ,
collectible to billionaires. So the LA
an
Times,
organ,
the
organ
Washington
of
Post,
opinion.
yeah, the Washington Post, the LA Times, the New York Times. Those 3, like, even if they're if as long as you could break even with the subsidies, it is a collectible to a billionaire to own one of the 3 papers of record.
Prestige publications. And of course, just like Boston is the sandbox where New Yorkers send their kids to college, the Boston Herald is a minor
Oh,
league, but
yeah,
right, right,
there's plenty of good ones, but the big
right,
dogs, right?
right.
WAPO, New York Post, LA Times. Then you got, right, the Gazette, you get the Herald, you get the Times out of Chicago.
The
Uh,
Atlanta Urinal and Constipation. Yeah,
and then, you know what? Surprisingly, small town papers are starting to circulate again,
of
because
course they are.
nobody's right. 2 things. Nobody's subscribing to get it delivered, the WAPO, and they're not paying the $9 a month app to get to read it on their phone. They're like, "You know what? I think it's interesting. I wanna hear what happened to Billy Bob when he, went to the 4-H and he showed a 1,200-pound hog." And those are the stories you get out of local newspapers.
That is called the Trumpification of America. It's a ripple effect. But what's old is now new.
Mhm.
And the fact is he is taking a sledgehammer to the behemoth establishment. And I admit his surgery is not perfect. And right now, for my taste, it's a little too weighted towards corporatism, but he is a corporatist. I'm sorry, you can't take that out of his blood. He loves the glitz, he loves the parties, he loves the Trump Kennedy Center. He's an elite. He is. He's just an elite that was rejected by the in crowd. And so he's smashing his way in. That's what's going on.
Okay, I explained this, I believe, to Paul a couple of years ago. I said when Trump did not get put in, he did not get membership in a very expensive golf club in Palm Beach all
Of his
those
own.
many years ago, right? And what did they tell him? They're like, "You're new money. You're no good."
Right. We don't want you.
And so he goes, "Well, isn't he old money?" I said, What you need to understand about old money is British money. They
British
already
British elite money.
they
Right.
already had so these would have been families that came over in the 16, 17, and 1800s. That's
Right.
old money. Everybody, including his father, Donald Trump's father, was new money because he made his money here in America, not through the British class system.
And if you see, this is really funny. I hadn't thought about it this way before, so get ready. If you see the condemnations of Trump and his language by saying, if you want to be an American patriot, or you can be a pussy, or whatever it was that he said, and they're like, a president shouldn't talk this way. Yes, hold on, stay with me. The same people that are saying the president shouldn't talk this way are the same people who support the people who had that trapdoor on Epstein Island where they were dumping the dead bodies out into into the bay after they were done molesting. I'm being
Well,
serious.
let me
These
ask
are
let me ask, what was the speech, and we know because it was written down, it's documented, what was the speech of British lords? It was not polite. They
no,
were not high society men unless they went to a
no,
ball. When they went to a ball, they put on their fancy feathered hat and their
and
tuxedo,
some of them their wigs, right? All that, right,
and
right.
they spoke eloquently, but when they were dealing with their subjects, they were brash and vulgar.
Like General Gage, you will submit to your king.
Mhm.
That's how they talk. Stay
Yeah,
in line, knave.
but I'm gonna clutch my pearl because Trump drops a really well-timed F-bomb on live TV. And all the here's what's even more funny, if they would have done that 20 years ago, whoever the sound engineer was would have already had the dump button hit, you would have never heard it. Nobody that was working at these stations today even understands how to operate the equipment in front of them because they all went to school for little farts.
Right. And on top of that, and on top of that, Donald Trump owes his presidency to Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
because after the nation was desensitized to blowjobs in the Oval Office, the full Monica, you aren't going to be able to pull the decorum card to keep the evil Trump out of the halls of power.
Well, I wanna also mention that people honestly forget they would have been billionaires at the time inflation, included a Playboy family, the Kennedys.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
they go, "Well, Donald Trump's he's had, like, 5 wives and, like, 50,000 girlfriends. He's a billionaire. What do you I could go down the street and find some guy in the corner that's probably had about the same, but they're not in the society that you
Right.
would welcome into your home. This is this this is a standard practice for men across the ages. When we talked about Esther and her king having hundreds and hundreds in his harem that were all dedicated to him.
Right.
W
But she was his favorite.
She was
Yeah.
his favorite,
Okay. Yeah. Bully for her, thank God, right?
right? Okay, so now all of a sudden you're gonna tell me, you expect, the leader of a country, uh, to be, monogamous?
No, 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 no. Just let me summarize it. To abide by the Marquis of Queensberry rules of engagement while the other side is in a knife fight. No, no, no. Mind your manners, evil Trump. Mind your manners while we cut your heart out and eat it.
Well, and it's in everything, so it's not just that, it's anything, right? I was listening to Chuck Schumer drone on.
Oh, I'm sorry. What the hell
Uh,
were you doing that for?
every once in a while, it's just so funny because he's so out of touch with even his own voters. And he was
Actually,
talking
Sean,
about and this was the one where CNN comes out with a poll and says, "No matter how I run it, Democrat, Republican, black, white, male, female, Hispanic, Asian, by age group, it doesn't matter. 65% of the electorate all want voter ID."
well, I mean, it's like
And Chuck
85.
Schumer's like, "No, no, this is racist." And it's one of those clips where you watch it and you go, "Oh my god, who is in all your office?" I know you have a staff of like 150, but it is telling you that this is the right thing to go out and say, that this is racist right after a poll drops where black and
Blacks
Hispanics
want it
overwhelmingly support
overwhelmingly.
voter ID.
Every single one of those same people shows an ID at the airport. Every single one of those people shows an ID at the liquor store. Every single one of those people shows an ID at a political event.
Yep.
Every single one of those people shows an ID when a cop pulls their car over.
Mhm.
Every single one. But according to John Thune and the Rhinos, we can't do that. We can't break the filibuster on
They
something that's silly. Yeah.
they also have to show a valid in date ID to be employed.
Listen, all of you out there, I don't usually address our gaggle of listeners or viewers or whatever. You don't come here because we're not going to tell you the truth. You come here because we're going to say Donald Trump's real legacy is the great revealer. You never saw the rhinos get smoked out like they have been the last week. The public pressure on John Thune is listen, it's equivalent to the sonic pressure that the Venezuelan Secret Service encountered when those helicopters showed up. I
Yep.
mean, it's almost. I mean, look at Thune's face. It looks like someone's jammed a 2x4 plank up his ass until he couldn't breathe. All right. I mean, he's taking orders from the people that are really in charge, but he's going back. He's not sleeping well, and he's going, how am I supposed to stop this? And they're thinking, man, we really wish McConnell hadn't gone senile because he could have figured out how to get around this.
Well, and he would
And
have figured out about it because he would have just gone to the hospital for another month.
but they would have thawed him back out in time to hold the filibuster.
Well, right? But and that was common practice for
Yeah.
with and there was good things that McConnell did in the past. I'm not we had a Supreme Court justice that would have been on the
Okay.
Supreme Court had he not blocked that.
Anybody anybody remember my old ex screen name? Before
Was it bitch the one before bitch face McCommunist?
no. Right now I'm what's my name now? I can't counterfeit cash.
Counterfeit
I think
cash.
that's very given that there have been no arrests since Trump was sworn in. I think counterfeit cash is appropriate for the times we live in. But prior to that, it was bitch McCommunist because I felt like McConnell's much ballyhooed, much celebrated stewardship of the U.S. Senate, the master of procedure. These were my exact words when the Democrats stole the Georgia runoff for those two seats with Warnock and his Warnock water and Ossoff Jackoff or whatever the hell his name was, and they obviously stole the election, so Purdue wouldn't have even needed a runoff unless they stole those votes, and so now Ossoff is their senator and Warnock is their senator instead of Loeffler, whoever the hell it was. I don't even know who it was. Doesn't matter, but that gave them their Senate majority, their short lived majority. And my exact quote was, thank God. And my friends were saying, wait a minute, aren't you conservative? I said, yes. Well, don't you want the Republicans to have a majority? I'm like, fuck no. I said, and they said, well, why not? I said, what could the Democrats do that would be so much worse than McCommunists selling us out one vote at a time to enrich himself, which is what he always did. And sure enough, in 2022, he got in there and was the leader, right?
Still
And
here.
and collaborated with John Kennedy and the rest of the fucking collaborationist rhinos and sold us out one vote at a time on the Inflation Reduction Act, on every other damn thing, every other Biden spending priority, and people like Capito in West Virginia, the deepest red state in all of the United States, and every single one of those southern rhinos fell right in line and went along with the rat bastard. That's why I wanted him. And even now, his dead cold hands are still on the Senate. He is an absolute traitor.
Oh,
And
I absolutely get what you're coming from now. Let me also ask this because I don't they think that they since they were able to squash MAGA by getting Biden in and just had Trump gotten his term 1 agenda through, I think it would have been too big to cheat or too big to steal or whatever Trump's phrase was going into 2020. I think
too big to rig.
too
Yeah.
big to rig. I think that would have been the case, but because he got held up by Paul Ryan in the House, he got held up by by
Carmella,
Cocaine Mitch in the Senate.
fake fake impeachments,
Yeah,
Mueller's $45 million witch hunt, followed by Jack Smith's what $50 million witch hunt. I just want, I mean, line it up. I mean, another
my
impeachment vote.
question for all these 65 to 80-year-old congressmen and senators who have been quietly fighting Trump in the background, the Republicans, I wonder if they see that the American people, after we reelected him again after 4 years, Grover Cleveland is the only other president this has happened to, who was separated by 4 years in terms. If they see that it's not Trump, it's the MAGA voters that are not going to let this go, and
And,
that they will just keep shoving a MAGA presidential candidate down your throat until you finally quit and get out of the House or get out of the
and,
Senate.
and let me make a prediction right now. Should the Democrats take the House or whatever and start impeaching Trump again, which they most certainly will if they get it. Let me make a prediction. Vance's election of the presidency will be the largest landslide since Nixon.
Oh, yeah, if they start impeaching Trump again, I agree.
Yeah, if we even have a presidential election, which they will try not to have, if the
Won't
polls
that be
show
the
what they
thing?
show.
They're trying to blame Trump. Is he's just gonna stay in power forever. I bet you it. You're right in your prediction that the Democrats will try to find a way to postpone an election.
Right. Oh,
Only like you use timeouts to ice a quarterback.
right. Right. No, they will try to do that. And because obviously we're not yet ready to revolt the conventional way. Americans really want our political process to work. They really do. And they vote for it every single time.
Right.
And as Bannon is fond of saying, we've won 8 or 9 of the last 10 elections. And he's largely right. But what keeps happening is procedural motions, and meaning uniparty rhinos continue to thwart Trump in the Congress, and little mole sleeper cells of deep state operatives everywhere continue continue to hold up a stop sign and file a lawsuit, or the Senate rhinos fall asleep and let somebody confirm like 100 radical district judges, and then those
Yep.
district judges enter an injunction against everything we try to do. You saw today, France is outlawing Macron, well, not Macron, but what's her name? The,
Le Pen
yeah, from running at all. Yeah,
again, a
yeah, yeah,
second time they're
yeah,
banning her from running because they know
and
she'd win.
right,
Overwhelmingly win, and she's pro-Trump populist.
right. They don't want that.
Not at all.
No,
And Spain also is they're fucked. They're going way down with their lawsuits against X. And I know the House Oversight Committee's been exposing it, but what can the House Oversight Committee do other than expose it? And it's just pure it's pure hatred of Elon Musk because he was populist Trump. And so we must
unfortunately,
ban all of you X users from being able to talk.
unfortunately, unfortunately, all the American justice system seems able to do is to expose it, not to do anything about it.
Well,
I I
you know
can't
what?
I
I
can't
I will
see.
say though, I gotta say though, there's one thing I can't remember who. I think it was Comer who said it. He goes, "Look, I get all your frustration, but if we expose it, at least you can go show your friends that are independent, and you can say, and vote now. You see why you shouldn't vote for the Democrats, or why you shouldn't vote for Thomas Massey, or why you shouldn't vote for this, because we just
I
showed you
tell me what the difference is between Thomas Massey and a Democrat, and I'll answer your question.
nothing. But you've got the evidence now if they expose it." Did Thomas Massey get anybody prosecuted by releasing the Epstein files?
No,
Oh,
no.
that's weird.
Although I do say that
He
the
said he
Democrats
said
are
he
being.
had the names of, like, 20 people that were
Yeah, I
guilty,
remember that.
and he was gonna
Marjorie Taylor
expose
Greene.
them on the floor. Oh, what is there a reason Marjorie Taylor Greene quit? Had nothing. I don't think. I think she would have won her, reelection even with Trump PAC money going against her. Did she
Well,
not know the names of the 20 people that her and Thomas
that
Massey
that
said,
she said she had.
yeah, that were guilty of high crimes and treason?
Yeah, and then you saw those wonderful pictures of her out there with all those reputable folks demanding the Epstein files be released, and now they're all sitting there looking at them in abject horror as they watch Prince Andrew getting exiled exiled from the British Islands, and you're like, "Okay, you guys wanted this shit released. Have at it. Yeah, there you go. There it is. There's all the sludge. I mean, it feels like WikiLeaks.
Oh,
It does.
dude, it's alright. So I've only paid attention to what accounts I like. I know. Haha. And put together is in kind of a little bit of a readable format because 'cause I'm not reading 3,000,000 fucking pages. I
No.
don't care because I already knew what the thing was before. For years, I knew what the thing was, and it really Epstein is a teeny tiny little pawn that they moved around the table, and so for everyone who goes, "Well, Epstein was a trafficker." No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. No, he was an influence agent, and he was a banker. He was a banker
Right.
that transferred money between intelligence agencies, 5 of them to be specific, and
Right.
that's how you
Five Eyes, right? Yeah, Five Eyes. Yeah.
and that's listen, when you want to move weapons or weapons equipment, around the world, and you can't do it constitutionally by any country, whether it be
Yeah.
England or
You have to
America,
do it. You have to do it somehow.
you
Yeah.
gotta do it somehow, and so you gotta make a money transfer, and
I
then
mean, how those.
you have to have an arms man, an arms guy come pick the shit up and take it away.
Well, let's just say that those guns in Benghazi that they didn't want to admit were there had to come from somewhere. So where do you think that? Yeah, where do you think they came?
Who do you
I mean,
think the
Victor
mer
Bott.
who do you th how do you think if you talk to the story there's movies about this stuff. Nicolas Cage was in one. He's only really good at doing one character, but whatever, he was in one of these movies that showed gun salesmen. But what we released, probably the most, profitable, um, weapons salesman on, for in the world
Victor
for
Bott. Yeah. Right.
for a NBA player, a WNBA player.
Right. Yeah. No, the Victor Bott for Brittany Griner, for God's sake. And I mean, she was basically a tranny, right? I mean, wasn't she? I mean, I don't know.
I
There goes
couldn't
YouTube
tell you.
right there.
All I could do is make observations off videos I've seen, specifically ones of her, shooting,
Yeah.
basketball out by the pool, and it's a
Yeah.
man's body.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know, was
mean,
it tell
as
us,
far as
chat, was
Brittany,
that AI? Am I dumb? Was that just AI? Or is that a
as
dude?
far as listen, as far as Brittany Griner goes, I wanted to take some of those blankets that Obama sent to Ukraine to help them defend themselves and send them to her so she could use it as a prayer mat.
Well,
I mean, the way they used to say it on Saturday Night Live, everyone's a winner. You're recycling blankets from a country that really wanted anti-tank
yeah.
missiles, as opposed to blankets, right?
Yeah.
So you can send it somewhere where it'll be appreciated.
Well, the funny part, what people don't get about this is, we're not selling them anything good. So, like, when they say, "Oh, we're gonna upgrade them to HIMARS," this is
That's
like
like
1960s US technology, and we're
that's
just
like
cycling
argue.
bench stock. Nobody, even our friends, don't get modern, American weaponry. Now, they might get an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter version 1. We're on version 6.
They don't get the stuff that showed up in Caracas.
No.
That's what you're saying, no. And let's just say that those in Caracas who witnessed that stuff came away duly impressed.
If that story is
Like,
true,
yes.
yeah, and I have inclination to believe that parts of it are, people tell fascinating stories if they live through an event. You kinda okay, but
Well,
if that story is true, that shows you that, Russian defense systems, Chinese defense systems, were absolutely ineffective. We were able to, turn off their power grid
right,
like that and just walk in.
like flipping a switch.
Yeah, that easy.
And then use current and sound to incapacitate the would-be combatants while
Mhm.
we were doing something that left us unaffected by it. That's okay. Uh, yeah.
Well, but when you
Let's just
hear
say
our
that
friend, Paul, the military guy we have on from time to time to help us explain some of this
he's the
stuff.
bald guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know, we haven't
Yeah.
I think we saw him last Tuesday, or was it 2
The
Tuesdays
bald guy,
ago?
the bald guy with the gun rack, right? Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, but he's like, "Listen," he's like, "You guys just," he's like, "I go to the trade shows. You guys, nobody could possibly understand, and we don't want you to know what we have.
Right.
Obviously, we don't want other countries to know what we have. We don't want China coming over here, going to military colleges and stealing it. So we'll just leave them at Harvard, and they can go, 'Ha ha, we're stealing your information from Harvard.'" And we go, "Oh my god, you're learning Marxism. Cool." So, yeah, you don't. It's ridiculous to think, well, that there's anybody on the planet that, obviously people could cause damage to us. I'm not saying that, but there's not a single group of countries in the world that could, topple the United States at this point. Just not going to
Sean,
happen.
Sean, the untold story that is being ignored. I mean, what isn't being ignored by the Washington Post? Although now we get to ignore 300 more of their employees, which is great,
Eh,
or at least mock and make fun of them on social media, which is even more fun
I
because
will.
they're out there whining and Cynthia Holt and Gray, my favorite gals are just smacking them around, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Some of
But
them are
the
funny, but go on.
well, no, but the lachrymose hyperventilating of how important I am, and I gave how many years to this. You're a fucking paid liar. Okay, you're a
Yeah.
propagandist, and you work for Herr Goebbels, and you're sitting here acting like you're Thomas Paine, and it's the dissonance is head splitting.
Well, and if you wanna write a non-opinion pieces to argue, there's great references from Thomas Jefferson on how to do this, and do it through competing papers, where he wrote
Right.
as a widowed woman and a man who would battle in opinion pieces to spark imagination, and there's nothing wrong with a good Opinion piece.
Hey,
An opinion piece where you just come out and call half the country trash is not it's not writing. It's not writing.
no,
Go to your Facebook
it's
page.
propaganda. It's propaganda and it's obfuscation. To be honest, it's not helpful, and it doesn't advance civic discourse. It's just a verbal vomit that's thrown into what R. Emmett Terrell used to call the culture smog. Just crap for the culture smog. So, oh, here's another left winger saying that the United States sucks and that people like JD and Sean are a couple of redneck hayseeds that don't know shit. That's what it is.
That is exactly what it is. I've watched this for a long time, and it started with George W. Bush, right? The hick
Yeah,
hayseed. It look, for whatever you think about George W. Bush, while he was president, I was young enough to like him. I know better now. But what I do know from reading a lot about the guy is he was not a hick hayseed. He
no.
was he was he was well educated. Now he might have been a little bit of a globalist too, but that aside, he
Well,
was
he's a
well educated. But this is what they from in my lifetime. This is when I saw the left claim all Republicans are just big retards up in the hills or in the mountains or the hills of Texas, sharpening their sticks to come down and get us. As quoting, I'm quoting Nancy Pelosi there, sharpening their sticks to come down and get us. And the assumption, what she's trying to say is that because we didn't go to college. Oh, by the way, I did. He did. Well,
yeah.
and we vote Republican.
Regrettably, all I
Yeah.
learned how to do was pass out poison. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Well, but if that's the moniker of educated, which they use,
Yeah,
we're technically just as educated as you are, although we were able to survive that education and teach ourselves all of the stuff we bring you week in and week out of,
it's
of, of information of history. And it cracks me up that you'll meet a Starbucks liberal, and if you just listen to them talk, right, they truly believe because their media and their schooling has told you Republicans are sub IQ, non educated.
mental draggers.
Yeah, we're just barefoot dragging out there. We don't
Uh,
know how to do anything.
we want our women to be the Stepford wives, and we're going to
Ain't
call
that
the
the
shots.
funniest thing on the planet? I think it's a
Yeah.
fetish those Democrat women have. They seriously do.
Well, all I can tell you is if you interact with awfuls on X, the platform, for a week or two, you'll start thinking that the Islamic world has it right in their view of women and what they should do with them. Okay? Because the fact
Same thing
is,
if you work in an office building and with a cubicle farm. If you go to lunch with awfuls, just sit and listen. Don't talk, just sit and listen. You're gonna you will be shocked at what they believe.
yeah,
It's
it's off the
astonishing
charts.
what they believe.
But it is, but basically, those are the seeds that germinate people like the sainted Renee Good. Okay, Renee Good is a prototypical awful, as is her wife. Drive, baby, drive. I mean, let's all SJW it up and get in there and stop the evil Trump. It gives our life purpose.
It
We've
does.
got him now for the 8,000th time, right? No, he's much smarter than you, and you're not going to get him. All right? You're not. He's richer than you. He's smarter than you. He's the most vicious counterpuncher that God ever made. And the fact is, God gave him this audacious, brassy manner, but he also gave him balls of steel, and he's proven that you can throw at him whatever you want, and he will never
300 years in prison? He's like, "That alright, let's go. Let's go."
he'll never quit. Never.
He doesn't.
And he may not always be right, but he's certainly a guy you want on your team. I'm shocked at how many volunteers there are that are gonna, "We're gonna take him down. We're gonna get him. Oh, yeah, this'll do it." Yeah, I mean, what?
Well, I've also heard alright, so after he got reelected and they took 3 weeks of crying and
Yes.
shock and trying to understand what happened. Oh, they're like then their next goal was, "Well, we're gonna get him, but even if we don't get him, we're gonna get MAGA because once Trump gone, MAGA gone." And I just remind them, I was like, "No, MAGA was here before Trump, and MAGA will be here long after Trump." It
And
might
Trump
rebrand a little bit, a little bit, but not far because the MAGA is the voters. MAGA is not Trump. Yes, Trump was successful in branding it and getting everybody together on the same page, but MAGA really is the same angry people of the 2010 Tea Party who had a really good run at it until Paul Ryan fucked them too.
Sean,
And then everybody sat at home and said, "Screw you guys. We'll let the Democrats win the midterm."
Sean, I'm gonna talk about something that I used to not talk about because I felt ashamed of it.
Go for it.
I voted for Perot in '92. That's how unimpressed I was with Bush the elder.
Yep.
And as time has gone on, my disdain for him has only grown. The Bush family are Fabian socialists. Folks, the Bush family is on the other team, in case you haven't noticed. And like Mark Stein, I want to give him a hat tip. I consider from the day Reagan got on the plane to go to California, the era of Tweedledum and Tweedledummer politics existed in presidential politics in the United States until the day that Donald Trump was elected.
Yep.
Bush, Clinton,
Bush.
Bush, Obama, not a dime's worth of difference. A
Nope.
Fabian socialist versus a Kenyan Marxist, it doesn't it or a hillbilly grifter, it doesn't matter. It was all about not, we won't say big government, but hey, we'll give
No,
you lots of little government and we'll show you we care.
yeah, no,
Well, could you
man, I love the impression. But it wa
could, could you could
it
you move a
really
little to the left down there? Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
it really but it really was, it really was about, well, we could just slowly push this on you, and you won't know it. You won't know it. You'll just be like, "Ah, man, seriously, another tax or another this or another really bad a global policy." And then Trump is just like he's talking. He's like, I no, I don't really want to run. And he started in the '80s saying this with Reagan.
Right.
He's like, I don't want to really run, but I will if I have to. And he watched everything you and I watched because I can't do this. I have to run.
And
I
then he
have to
watched and then he
stop
watched
what is going on. I have to stop it.
and then he watched 9/11. And he
Yeah,
watched, yeah, and he watched it in New York City. It had an impact on him
big
'cause
time.
no, 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 I mean, we say 9/11 was a turning point for the worse in the US, and largely it was because government grew exponentially,
Yeah.
but it also activated the remedy. Because without 9/11, you don't get Trump at all. I mean, he was saying he really didn't think he would do this, and from 9 I've never even thought about this before, but from 9/11 forward, you started hearing from him, and you started hearing from him regularly, and he was calling Fox and Friends all the time. I mean, there was not a month or 2 that went by that you didn't hear 2 or 3 phone calls from Donald Trump in the morning, up and would
Yep.
have been tweeting if there had been Twitter, because he was activated by something that was going on in the world, and he was upset, and he didn't like the way things were going.
He put excavators on the ground within an hour after the towers fell at his
Yes.
own expense. He's like,
Yes.
"I want you guys to move the excavators in and start finding human life."
Right. And
Donald
on top
Trump
of that,
did this on his own, not a politician.
like Perot, he funded rescue missions for people that are trapped in captivity in other nations. He paid for it out of his own pocket to get those people out of there. Uh, the guy's been a patriot for a long time and
Yep.
a playboy patriot, yeah, but so what? I mean, Ben Franklin was a playboy patriot. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not all that unusual. Politicians tend to have uh,
They live big
appetites for
lives.
approval.
They live very big lives.
Right, appetites for approval, and that extends to a finely turned ankle. I mean, it's just a normal thing. I mean,
So
I can't say I've never been guilty of that. I
right?
not something that affects me anymore, but, back in the day back in the day, it was known to happen.
Uh, I think it affects everyone in their own way. We just we're just I guess we're just busy in our life cycle of focused on
We're just trying to stay
stuff.
alive.
We're trying to survive. It's like, if we could get through survival,
Yeah, imagine that.
maybe our brain chemistry will.
You should have seen the morning I had today, but that's just that another time.
Man, I like the people. The other thing that like all of the left that just vehemently hates Donald Trump, if they could just on paper read his policies and then read Bill Clinton's policies, they're not the
Same.
same, but they are very,
Or
very similar.
JFK.
Oh,
JFK, they're
they're
closer
totally
to JFK's than they are
closer to
even to
JFK.
Clinton.
Yeah.
Okay, this
And
is
they not only did they love JFK and Clinton, and they were totally willing to excuse Clinton being a playboy. A lot of Republicans liked Clinton and might have
oh,
loved JFK.
Paul likes Clinton.
Yeah.
No, I listen, I mean,
Close
we
I'm
shit,
closing the borders, Clinton, and he did.
given the times we were in, I'd rather have Clinton as president than, H.W. Bush
Oh, God,
or
yeah.
W. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
I would never thought I would say that, but it's true. Clinton was far better for the nation than those guys. Now, yeah, he sold out. Okay, someone says, "Well, he sold our defense technology to the Chinese communists." Hey, dumb shit, you there? Yeah, Scowcroft and H.W. Bush had the opportunity to take out the CCP following Tiananmen Square. And what did they do? They saved them and they shipped our entire middle class jobs to China. So who's worse? The guy who lets China have a little rocket technology, or the guy who sent your fucking job to China? I'm sorry.
no, I get the anger because, I have the anger too. Yeah, that's one of the faults I know he didn't do that. He just started it, but the rest of it happened is when Reagan made this decision that we could crush communism by giving them our capitalism, and they're like, "Yes, please." And they didn't run it as capitalists, but they took all of those Western dollars, the people buying things, the LeBrons, the Jordans, the Nike T-shirts, the Apple phones, the you name it over the years. We were willing to pay China to make it because, and I still get people today. I say, you know what? First, Apple needs the board of directors needs to remove Tim Cook. It's just he's done. He's toast. They're not doing anything innovative anymore. The stupid goggle thing that was $3,500 or up to $6,000 was a total absolute failure. He's lost John Ivy. He's lost so many good people. It's time to remove him. But second, I say Apple also needs to do the patriotic thing and start manufacturing their chips in one of the states in America. And people go, "Well, I'm not going to pay $7,500 for a phone." I said, "How do you know it's going to be 75? Because American labor." I said, "We have robots. And if you don't believe me, ask Amazon workers how they feel about their job right now when they see robot workers of all different shapes and sizes climbing up, and grabbing things and moving around, and
Who
how
never get
secure they
tired,
feel about their job.
who always follow instructions, who know how to scan a barcode and get it right more often
Accurately,
than yeah,
accurately, every time
accurately.
accurately,
Right.
100% accuracy. They don't
Or
take 25-minute, 15-minute breaks. They don't flirt with the chick that's in the
and they don't
stall next
strike.
to them. They
Yeah,
don't
that's
strike, they
I
don't
mean,
want
or better
unionize.
yet, I mean, who needs an Amazon driver in his friggin' electric car when you can hand it to a drone and just fly it there?
Even worse, they've got a concept. It's not gonna be an at-home robot like Optimus. They've got a concept robot that will drive vehicles, humanoid, and it's very close to production level. So those Amazon vans you see driving around, and you got the guy smoking at your doorbell camera, dropping it off, taking the picture, and yelling something retarded at your doorbell camera. They're gone too because this humanoid robot is going to drive the vehicles.
And I mean, obviously, the vehicles are gonna be autonomous, but the humanoid robot will be there
It'll
in
get
case
out,
there's a problem,
it'll
right?
get the
Right,
package, it'll walk the package to your door,
right.
even if your driveway's a mile long, for those of you out in ru
Or if you didn't shovel it, the humanoid robot will still go through the snow
Yep,
and not bitch about their feet getting cold, right,
yeah,
and not sue you if they fall over.
yeah.
Right,
Tell
exactly
them to
right,
get
yeah.
back up and keep going about their job. No, and that's man, I don't know if you wanna do it, but we gotta talk about human employees and where they think they are in the
Well,
whole
the
cog
obviously
of the
not a
wheel.
good time in my life to talk about
But human employees right
Say
now, I'm just gonna say there's some great human employees, and what will happen with those employees is they will be enhanced by
I will excel, yeah.
AI, and robotics. They will be enhanced. They will be very, very successful. Everyone else who has an attitude or thinks that their employer, their company, whether it's Walgreens or Walmart or, pick some big bastard, Amazon, they're rich. They should pay me for a 25-minute break. They're not gonna pay you at all. They're just
No.
gonna replace you with a robot.
By the way, I wanna rewind a few minutes.
Yeah.
Sean and I agree on most things. I think that's obvious to you guys. I mean, we do have policy discussions. One thing we have discussions about is, Reagan and China, and we're not completely on the same page with that. But I would say this, Reagan had export controls and wouldn't share any advanced technology or anything with the Soviets. None. I
Mhm.
mean, the Soviet in fact, when I adopted my children out of Moscow in,
Mm.
1993, the my guide over there would talk about the subpar nature of Russian equipment, that it was just terrible, and if it was made in Russia, that it sucked, and they were always happy to get their hands on US equipment, and I thought, wow, I would have never thought that. I would have thought they wanted Japanese or Korean or something, you know, because we were competing with them and not too well, you know, in certain situations, especially for consumer
Mm.
electronics, which is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Samsung, Sony, you know,
Yeah.
back in the day, that was the whole thing.
They were the
In
big
fact, I
dogs.
even
RCA,
not that I
another one.
talk about it too much, but I took about $2,500 worth of that stuff with me and his negotiating skills in customs got us out of there without a duty. So I mean, it was a you know full confession, Soviets. I brought in some contraband. Back in back in 1993, but I got to take a couple of kids home as a result. So it was everyone was a winner except you guys because
They don't,
Reagan beat you, right?
they wouldn't trade you for Brittany Griner.
No, I didn't think. I know. Victor Bott has a lot more charisma than I
Well,
do. I totally
well,
understand.
on that, Because I'm a
But let me just conclude
go ahead.
with strange. One thing that buttresses Sean's point, to be fair, is it didn't seem like Reagan shared that same toughness about exporting technology to the Chinese.
Agreed.
It seemed like it was. To him that seemed like it was okay and not okay to the Soviets. And I wonder, was that the influence of big business on Republicans that did that because they didn't regard the Soviet labor market with such, I mean, with
I
such
think.
delight as the Chinese slave labor? Was that what that is? I don't know, but
I think. I
that's where it
think.
gets stuck for me.
So if I could put my thinking cap on, I left it over too far away to grab. My guess is that
Not trying to change the subject, but
no,
to
no,
me
no.
that's a fascinating part of this.
I will totally get into this. I think what's going on there is that even when Russia or the USSR even was good, is that we needed a boogeyman in the politically in the United States, and so it was
Always.
politically expedient to blame the Russians for everything. And so you walk through World War One, they helped us. World War Two, they helped us. Cold War happened. All right, you go. All right, this is tense. I don't like it. Whatever. We're jockeying for power, and then you got to ask yourself, well, why were we jockeying for power when they helped us in the first two world wars? This has got to be political at this point.
Well, it's political because British elites always hated Russia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and right, the probably the Romanovs all the way back to that,
Yeah, yeah.
and how much power the Romanovs held, over, this
Well, and they also
massive.
held a grudge over the Tsar repelling the Royal Navy during the American Civil War, so they couldn't help the slave states.
Mhm.
Remember the big emancipators over on the British Isles wanted to support the slave states in the U.S. Civil War. Yeah, humanitarians that they were, Wilberforce would be really proud of
I
the Royal Navy.
I bet you if the Russians at that time, because they wouldn't have been USSR in the 1860s,
I know.
I bet you the Russians, if they could have sailed a fleet to help liberate the North, they would have. And everyone's going to
So
go, "What? No." Well, all right, hold on. Remember where they're coming from geographically. This started in the winter, so they couldn't sail. Or if they sailed, they'd have to sail from the Pacific, go all the way around the bottom of South America,
Cape
then come
Horn,
up. So
yeah.
that would have been over a year, and provisions on a wooden 40-foot boat. It wouldn't have fed people. They would all die just on the trip. I
But
bet
in
they,
this
I bet that they would have if they had the technology. There just wasn't the technology in the 1850s and 60s.
in this particular instance, what they had done was they followed the path of the Nord Stream pipeline, or they came from Crimea around the south of Spain
Yep.
and floated up along the eastern shoreline. And it is thought by many, including Richard Poe, that they did that in support of Lincoln, anticipating British mischief in the American Civil War because the Czar and Lincoln had such good relations. And so they happened to have dropped anchor off the coast of the eastern seaboard. And when the Royal Navy showed up, they said, "Oh shit."
Mhm. I've only
And
got 2 boats. They got 40. They got
and they
40.
and they turned around and went back. That's
Right.
exactly what happened. And so when the French came to support the United States, well, no, that's the Revolutionary War, but the Civil War, when it was nearing an end, when you really needed some support from the sea, it wasn't there.
Right. I mean, we bought some boats here and there from different nations, and we made it through the Civil War. But it was
Well, but if the Royal Navy had been deployed in the Civil War for the South, it would have been a big problem. And without the
would have been
Russian
a
Navy,
massive problem.
it may well have happened. And that is not history that anybody talks about. And that's the kind of wound that lasts for hundreds of
And
years.
I make the argument that Russia has all ever since the revolution has looked at America and gone, "We wanna be your friends. We wanna be trade partners. We wanna be global security partners. We want to do all this." That whatever Russian government was in power, and you go, "Well, Gorbachev." I don't listen. You got blips. It's just blips in a timeline, in a very vast timeline. You get a bad government, you get a good government. I maintain from this day that once Russia saw the Americans overthrow the British government and form a country, Russia says, I want to be friends with them. And they have done lots of friendly things for us for the last 250 years, and that we have had, because so many Tories still live in our country, old. Remember, I talked about this very early in the podcast. Old money, Tories, British sympathizers, Crown sympathizers that our government is infiltrated with. That they're just like, no, we hate Russia because Russia wanted to help the Americans.
If you look at even the purchase of Alaska, which was called Seward's Folly,
Mhm.
I don't know what they call that in Russia, but that was a that was a gift.
$7 million
All right.
bucks for all that land?
For all that, for and with all that, with what it now contains, and I mean, we're well, how much we paying for Greenland, which is way I mean, come on, not even a pimple on Alaska's butt, but it's still valuable. But it gives you an idea of how big of a deal that was. And even today, Russia continues to suggest boring a tunnel between Russia and Alaska
Mhm.
to have trade. Uh, I don't know how much more clear it needs to be made. Putin asked if he could join NATO, for Christ's sake. No,
Several
why don't
times,
we
several times.
yeah, hey, Vlad, why don't we just replace NATO? Okay, I mean, that makes a lot more sense,
I think
and
Trump is
freeze
doing this.
free freeze the resourceless clowns out of the alliance. That's what needs to happen. All
I
they've
think
got are coins.
I think Trump is doing this with this, whatever he's calling it, the peace, department or peace
Well, no, no,
alliance
no,
or
it's the what, the uh, institute, not the Institute for Peace, because that's a corrupt communist front, but the Board of Peace or something along.
Board of Peace, yeah, the Board of
Yeah,
Peace of Vlad's got his invite. All
right.
kinds of and we've explained because everybody goes, "Well, we should still hate the Middle East." Don't hate the Middle East. Don't.
No, why?
Understand Islam wants to conquer and take you over. Understand that countries that are Islamic were conquered and taken over, and they want their countries back. Will they still be
Right,
Muslim? Yeah, but they won't be Islamic. They're
right.
two totally different things. And Russia's been looking at this for 250 years and go, dude, we have done everything but like, can you please?
Yeah.
Like you don't
Can,
understand between
can
the
you cut us?
massive amount,
Can you cut us a break? I mean, that's really yeah.
right? We've done everything. We've fought wars with you, um, and then you have your
And
senators
we've
saying,
taken the brunt of the fire, and you guys claim all the glory. We're the ones with 22 million dead, and you lost 400,000, and you act like it was shared sacrifice. Yeah,
well, and that comes from the American media, and it comes from the Senate and the House, and it's always been that way. And I
always.
really wish like, there's a radio host I listen to, almost daily, and he's a really good radio host, and most of the time he's got it right.
Who is
He's got it dead wrong. He still believes Russia wants to conquer the world. And I was like, have you
I
not
don't
seen the last 250 years where they're just
I
like,
take it back.
I
Don't give me his
see,
name.
I see America's might. I see America's might, not just militarily, but their economic might. And I want a piece of that. And how can I be a piece of that? By being their best friend.
Well,
And like I already explained, the Tory party, even though in America they probably don't even know what that is anymore, but the British sympathizers. So when everyone says deep state, look at the crown. Don't look at our government. Look at the crown and look at who they support. Our government. They support what's going on with the crown. And then go, now you can understand why that they do not want anything to do with Russia because they still support the British Empire. And when you figure that out, you're gonna go, "What?" Yeah. When you figure that out, now you're
look,
gonna
you
figure
even
out what Donald Trump is breaking up by purchasing Greenland because Donald Trump, he's just saying words. You got to look at Donald Trump's actions, not his words. He says words, lots of words. When you look at Greenland, I have shown this on a globe on the podcast before. If you if you look at a map, a paper map, Greenland just looks like it's off to the right of Maine.
to nothing. Yeah.
If you look at a globe, it sits right over London. And that's why London is freaking out that Donald Trump says, "I'm taking it."
Greenland is an hour and a half from everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everywhere in the northern hemisphere.
You wanna project power? Greenland is the Bagram of the northern hemisphere.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is, stick a couple of runways up there.
That's all you gotta do. And
Eh,
make sure that nobody screws around with it. And here's the thing, have all of you noticed out there our increasing listenership? Have all of you noticed that the media doesn't wanna talk about the Panama Canal anymore? Do you know why? We got it back. It was a walkover. Rubio went down there, he started negotiating, they started bending. They threw China out. I know. Oh,
Panama threw
CCP,
China out.
we can't fight the CCP, they might get upset. No, no, no. We threw their asses out, alright? Venezuela, who's out? CCP. And in fact, the CCP can't even get the cheap oil anymore. The strategy of capturing the tankers was brilliant. I mean, even with oh my god, they've got Russian flags, and and Vlad is just laughing. Those aren't my ships. That shit. That's Venezuela. Uh, okay, so well, Russia's gonna nuke us. No, they're not. They don't care. That they honestly they hate China as much as we do. They just can't say it.
Did you see, like, so the Euronews or one of those agencies would come out and be like, uh, some Russian general claimed this was, and then Vladimir Putin would go straight to Twitter X and go,
Yeah.
"That wasn't our ship. What are you
No.
talking about? That wasn't
What
our
are you
ship.
talking about?
The Americans have full right to seize that ship."
Yeah. That ship has embargoed oil, and it illegally traversing international waterways. So of course they're going to take the ship.
Yeah, they're just gonna build look, America's just gonna
They're
build a
huh?
flotilla out there.
Huh?
Maybe they'll bring back MTV and, run a flotilla party on the ships.
Or maybe Bezos will get married again and they'll use it for foam or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or they'll launch a Blue Origin spacecraft for wha- wha- those anchorette bimbos You know, so they
Man.
just tell you that they're astronauts because they're space tourists, kind of the same way that the Chinese birth tourism goes in the United States. It was 60 seconds, but look, I got the souvenir. Yeah.
I'm well, I hadn't even thought of that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. To say,
The
"Oh, you were actually conceived in space."
yeah. That makes you a true citizen of the world, right,
Oh,
Oprah? Yeah,
that's
okay.
exactly what I was gonna say. I'm a
Yeah.
citizen of the world, and so therefore there are no borders for me. And
Ah,
and
that's
and
right.
and then when they meet the TSA, they're gonna go, "Passport, please?"
That means the borders must be open, but not to vote. No passport to vote, just to get on an airplane.
I will say, we'll turn inward for a second. It's a publicity stunt, totally. Oh, this law firm that is super, super successful in running evictions. You know what? You should go. This is bad. I don't like them because I get it. People get evicted, but if evictions do also suck. Said, hey, we will give pro bono work to the what is it, the Tompev tribe of Indians. Since Billie Eilish's land and property and mansion uh, is on their property, and she admitted that we're on stolen property.
Right. She should surrender that right now. She should turn over the deed to that tribe and let them move in.
Well, first, I want to make everyone aware it is a total publicity stunt. Nothing has happened. If it progresses, we will let you know, but I don't think anything's going to happen.
I did hear isn't there a
Second, I think
GoFundMe going for somebody that's gonna move in?
probably a lot of
I
this
no,
stuff
I
is going
heard
to
that.
happen.
There's a representative of the tribe or whatever that's raising funds to move in. I think it makes perfect sense.
Well, I think they should fight the battle just because they can fight the battle. But I do want to mention that here's why it's retarded. Because if we set this as a case precedent into the legal system, then they will use this to remove everybody from their houses.
Oh,
Even though
no.
we think it's funny that it's happening to Billie Eilish, and it's not happening to Billie Eilish right now.
No, it's not
It's
going to
just
happen.
a thought. It's not gonna happen. But if this actually happened and it was successful, you would set into, especially with these super, super progressive judges, if you could get into their district, you could
Oh,
evict all white people from their homes
keep in
and give
mind,
it.
as much as I love Gorsuch, every once in a while, on cases like this, I mean, he almost his decision was to like turn over the entire state of Oklahoma to some Indian tribes or something. I mean, he has a I think he's a principled conservative for the most part, but when he's in a weak area, you never know what's going to happen, and I mean, I guess thank God Coney Barrett is still around, because she can kind of balance that wild streak he's
Because
got
funny
out.
that you say Coney Barrett has to be the balance because she makes some really whopper wild votes too.
But she reins him in on that shit. That's the thing I'm talking about. I mean, they're kind of complementary. One of them goes off the reservation, and the other one stays on, and then they take turns. But he has some unique thoughts about uh, title and ownership of land. If you read it, you'll get scared. I mean, he sounds like David Souter. Anyway, that's not a comparison you would expect me to make, but yeah, it's bad.
Well, and I think a lot of so where most of our law our judicial system comes from is from the British, right? We adopted that. We did. We absolutely did.
Well, there were a lot of really good things that they've all given up about their legal system since, but yeah, they
Absolutely.
had some great
Uh,
ideas.
but we also adopted the mistakes in that too.
Yes, yes,
And so,
yes.
we could have done something, but like the bar. The bar should be Americanized now. The bar association is still a British thing.
Yes, it is. and it is a political tool that's used as a cudgel.
Hmm.
And the British media reports on it anytime they issue a liberal opinion about anything. It's just part of the propaganda.
Did you know you could litigate without having passed the bar?
I did not know that.
Um, it depends on the circumstance, but did you know a lot of lawyers may or may not have passed the bar because they didn't care to, because it didn't wasn't a requirement for their job? And I'll say this in the fact that you can do so much litigation through just paperwork alone.
Mhm.
You don't have to be the one in the seat if it ever goes to
Wow.
trial. And a lot of things don't go to trial. A lot of things,
Most things don't.
right?
Well,
You're just
for one
threatening
thing,
somebody, and you're hoping you can get a litigator who can threaten better than whoever's threatening you.
yeah, I understand, and getting good legal representation is very difficult,
It's tough.
especially
It's
if
tough.
you if and even if you have $10 billion, if they make it politically poisonous for someone to represent you, you still have difficulty getting good litigators, and then they refuse to seat them in what, prosecutor slots or something, and blackball them and do all this bullshit. Uh,
Well,
this is
you got the other issue was the jury of your peers, but what is a peer? And that's never defined. It's never been defined by Congress. So when you
you
look
tell
at
me in Washington, you tell me in Washington D.C. how I would get a jury of my peers.
right, let me explain it even farther. When we look at the case of O.J. Simpson,
Oh yeah,
so they lined up quote unquote a jury of his peers by only color of skin. And it was a 90%, 10%, and then finally the 10% had to just because I'm done doing this. Agree, OJ's free. OJ didn't do it, and then over the years, you've seen different interviews where the jurists have said, "Oh well, obviously, he was free because he was a black man." And you're like, "What?" And it's like, well, I wasn't like, "What?" But they're like, well, yeah, we obviously we knew he was totally guilty of it, but because he was a black man,
black.
we
So
let him
we
go.
had to let him off,
We
right?
let him go free.
He had the way I put that, Sean, is he had the magic melanin.
So the jury of your peers still comes from the Brits. What is a jury of your peers? What is a jury of your peers? Can anyone
Well,
define that for me?
I am I am increasingly of the opinion that people like you and I don't have peers. I
Mhm.
seriously, I mean, if you're looking around for solidarity of opinion or worldview or something like that, the Patriot Sons podcast, we might have among fans of Rush, we might be able to find some peers, but in the general population, not so much. I mean, you look at what's happened to Lindsay Halligan, you look at what's happened to Alina Habba, and yeah, I admit I'm not totally sold on Alina Habba. I think she's a competent litigator, but I do remember her interview with Andrew Tate where it looked like she wanted to have his baby. I mean, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of cross currents that work on human emotion. And so I see a lot of things that I like from people, and then I see something that I don't like. But I try to assess them on their body of work. And those are a couple of competent prosecutors that should not be disparaged simply because they're women, or simply
Right.
because they didn't go to Cornell, or whatever the reason is for rejecting them, other than the fact that they're appointed by Trump, which is usually enough to orient the entire system against them so they can't draw a salary from the job they're doing after 105 days or whatever it is. And obviously, the Congress could do something about this, but
Mhm.
this takes us full circle to what we're talking about as the subject of the show. The Congress will be the last institution to adapt to MAGA. And if you haven't seen
Yes.
that yet, that's still true. That British control that Sean talks about, that British elite opinion that governs when the rubber hits the road,
The old money.
it still infects the Congress and in particular the Senate. The phrase that I use for John Kennedy of Louisiana is a rhino collaborationist. And I've stolen it from Bannon.
Who's a master at fucking social media. A master at it.
No, he's got old ladies ready to have his baby down in
Yeah.
Louisiana because he's
He
so
drops
folksy and so funny.
banger clips on
But
the internet.
but but ladies, look at his votes.
Right.
He's his votes are sentencing you to chains and slavery, but at least you get to laugh, right?
Mm.
Oh,
Oh, they're funny. Look, a lot of them try to do this, but he has mastered social
he's very
media.
good at it.
Mastered it.
I seriously consider that guy to be public enemy number one. I see the clips of, well, you think this, you think that, you think this, you think
Hey, he
that.
said
How are we
something
supposed to?
funny about a pig's ass, and everybody laughs, and that's the
Right.
ending
And then
point.
he votes for him anyway to confirm him. I mean,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you can always count on him. You can always count on him for the porculus. I mean, the
Hey,
big
wait.
spending bill.
What's always the excuse? Well, the precedent is, could you please all of Congress, at least Congress, Senate, I'll work on you later. All of Congress, can you end precedent because we don't give a shit about precedent. Is it
No,
constitutional? If it's constitutional, do it.
your blue slips are bullshit.
Yeah,
Okay? They're bullshit.
I don't care about your
And
precedent.
no, no, we don't give a damn about that, about how much you want to snuggle up to blue state home senators like people like Mark Warner. Gives a shit what that bastard thinks. Why does he hold sway over people that have a majority? How about in the House equivalent is a clown like Mike Lawler up in New York, a friggin' communist who calls himself a Republican. He's horrible. And
Mm.
yet, Mike Johnson is bending the knee to that pussy. I mean, time after time. And you're like, what's going on? All right. It's like I said, the Congress will be last to adjust, but the pressure needs to stay on. And man, you got to prove you're serious. Now, if you if you are discouraged, I want to offer this. I've told you that the last 5 years have been the most discouraging of my life for a number of reasons, and I'll be brief. I've quit believing
No,
in the
can you
economy.
filibuster for a minute?
All right, I've quit believing in the economy simply because I was trained as a pharmacist to heal people. And now I've learned that 75 to 80% of what I was passing out to everybody all over these years was poison. And that includes SSRIs, that includes ADHD meds, that includes statins, all these billion-dollar drugs that pharma they used to chuckle at the industry meetings about how, well, they say that we invent the disease because we already have the solution. Gee, I wonder why they say that. They probably say that because that's true. Anyway, if you were watching closely following the COVID response, the rules at the CDC and the FDA and NIAID, which I never even knew existed prior to that. I'm so sorry. I was asleep at the switch just like the rest of you. So don't feel bad. They rigged everything so they could jam this vaccine in everybody's arm, and then they mandated the damn thing, and then they fired all the patriots in the military, and they fired all the patriots among our hospital and nursing staff. They got rid of all the doctors that had any integrity whatsoever that wouldn't go along with with the remdesivir and the fucking kill shot, and the rest of that for everybody that was in the hospital. I can't think of anything that would violate my oath as I became a pharmacist about not doing harm to patients than going along with that crap. I mean, I'm stunned by the level of evil that exists in our institutions. And
Mhm.
now, on top of that, we have so much fraud. Today, we learned in LA County, even though they have, well, I think maybe less than a tenth of the seniors that they have in Florida, they've got 30x the amount of social spending on senior welfare and benefits and health care and home care in LA County than they have in Florida. Gee, someone said, well, how's that happen? And my question would be, are there any Somalians down there? And you know, you've got another one of those medical hotels where there's 254 addresses within one block, and they're all getting government checks to
Mhm.
do the same fucking thing and duplicate the services. And Mark Mitchell said it best, and I'm going to give him credit. If we get rid of all this fraud at once, we're going to sink the world economy. He's right. We're the United States of fraud. So go to work. Play by the rules, everybody, right? And you wonder why I'm upset. You know what I want to do? Do I want to go dispense pills to you? Hell no. I want to drive for Lyft. I'm not joking. I want to meet you all. I
Yeah.
want to talk to you.
Yeah.
That might be the only way you and I ever get to meet. And I'll put my avatar on there so you can when you need a ride, you can dial me up and I'll come get you in my Honda.
Well, you know, what it will be fascinating about that, obviously, you'll have clients that, if you do that, don't wanna talk because they don't wanna talk.
Yeah, I won't
There'll
talk
be
to them
other
if they don't
clients
wanna talk to me. I'm a hermit.
there
Yeah,
there'll be other clients that wanna talk way too much. It's just human nature. There's people on both sides of this, like, is
well,
if you could say if you could buy a GoPro that points at you and then at the back seat and say, "Hey, can I record this?" You like get the consent and go click and just have conversations with people.
that's
We could put it,
Sean.
dude. We could put it on the channel. We could I could do all the editing. We could put it on the
Sean.
channel.
Well, there it is. Yeah, consider it done. It'll be on the visor. I mean, hey, you know what? If this is a great conversation. If we're gonna do this, I'd like to memorialize it with a video. Are you okay with that? I mean, I might share it on a podcast or something like that.
No, yeah, to your content, you could share it, but I can also put it on the Patriot Sons channels, all of
Exactly.
them, right?
Right.
And
How much is a GoPro now?
350.
Yeah, they're cheap, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're super cheap. I think the most expensive thing is the card at like 40 bucks, like the
Alright.
memory card.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have internet, so like you post whatever you want
Well,
to
for
post,
now, who the
or
hell knows what I'll have in 3 months, yeah.
you've got internet by cell phone. So
No, I mean, I've even got a Starlink that Edward doesn't want, so I think I'll probably end up using it, so
Yeah, right? Stick it
yeah.
on, fucking glue it to the top of the car. So, anyways, yeah,
You guys
we
you
could,
guys
like
all
you could
convinced
be like,
all
"Man,"
convinced the
you
Canuck
could just be like, "Hey, man," and send me a full video of a 25 or 30-minute drive and go, "Man, it gets really good about minute 15." And I do have video software. I can go
alright.
and clip it down and make it like a 10-minute video and post to 25 or less. And I mean, I think there's
Just call me the 63-year-old Nick Shirley. I'm gonna do man on the street. Yeah,
you'll just be that here's human nature. They'll start it. They'll say because humans are just humans and they want to say shit. And they'll be like, "Man, I can't believe Trump did this." And you'll be like,
yeah,
"What did Trump do?" "Oh, well, he killed that Renee chick."
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I know this is talking in the past, but see, that's where your gold is. You go, "Hey, by the way, I like to run my GoPro while we're doing this. Can I turn it on?" And
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Yes," or "No." And then you go, "Click." "Oh,
Listen,
really? So
I'm
you play
arranging
prom?"
a rideshare hall of fame, and I think you're an interesting guy, and I'd like to put you in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. And then
yeah.
just let them talk, and you just keep asking, "Oh, okay, so you said Trump killed Renee Good. What does that mean?"
Yeah,
They're the content. The ones
right, right. Uh, imagine all the awfuls I'll meet. Anyway, see, the problem is when you're a business owner, you're hamstrung because you can't say anything.
You're 1099 contractor if you're doing what we're talking about. Can you
Oh,
still
no,
get
no, I know that. I'm talking about where I am now. I
you can
can't.
you
I cater to awfuls, and they fucking hate
yeah.
me. So yeah, yeah.
Mm. I typically don't talk about politics, anywhere around anything that makes me money, and I don't make money doing this, so I hope I do someday.
Well, not
But
yet. I mean, come on, guys, tune in. Come on,
right.
help Sean make money.
Yeah, repost, share,
Yeah.
like, isn't that what all
All
the
right.
podcasters say? Drop a comment. You know what? Honestly, if you're listening and you really do want to help, all of the platforms focus on how many comments you get as opposed to anything else. So if you have comments and you drop them into the chat, and we will respond to not every one of them. We didn't respond to the weirdo that put up, you can buy cheap viewers tonight in the
Uh,
chat. But,
he's our most frequent commenter.
well, it's
No,
always
but if you want to say the curmudgeon is full of shit and here's why, we'll respond
oh,
to it. I promise.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We would love it. We would love it. And you might win if you're lucky. I don't know if you'll
Good.
win. I don't know. I don't know.
You might win.
But you might win.
All right. What a great idea, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you wanna keep going for a little while, or are you done?
If you want to, I can. I mean, I could do another half hour.
Alright. So, let's let's go back and look at WAPO. Uh, I don't think we explained well enough what was happening in the 3 legacy papers of record. Paper of record
Okay.
being the most important of media from the early 1800s till about 10 years ago.
Okay, you guys are all gonna think I'm dead, but I'm gonna let Sean talk more in this half hour, okay? I realize I've been yelling at you all night, and he's talking about the legacy papers of record, and the fact is the US media came to be there are several stages, including the partisan press and this, and then there was this idea coming out of World War One and Two that media needed to be objective and that they were unbiased truth tellers.
Which
And
they weren't.
the gray lady of the New York Times became our paper of record coming
Well,
out of
and
World
paper
War.
of record is significant, right? So, paper of record is what went out across the nation to the tiny newspapers in, tiny towns across America, and as we got telegram up, that it made it spread faster. Paper of record was a notable thing, very notable, very prominent. And if you worked for a paper of record, this is a little bit before television, and it's definitely a little bit before radio, but radio started to come online. Paper of record was super, super notoriety. And if you worked at, say, in 1830 at whenever they came online, the Washington Post, a paper of record, you were of notoriety. You weren't, like when you look at newspapers today, let me also explain because there were so many in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The you could only work for the big three. The rest of you were just slubs, just picking up the trash.
In mind that back when St. Louis was a deal, all right, the 1904 World's Fair. In fact, in 1875, I was talking to somebody about this today. The city in which I'm sitting right now, although the city's up that way a little bit, but it's the metro area, was one of the richest cities
Oh no! Please
in
tell everybody your address on public.
no, I'm not going to do that. But one of the richest cities, one of the richest metropolitan areas in the United States, due to shipping on the Mississippi.
Mhm.
Stuff would come up from New Orleans, and St. Louis was the last major port. I mean, you've got the Quad Cities up in Illinois, up there with Davenport and Moline and what Rock Island.
It,
That's not.
and if you
They
went a
couldn't
little
have
far, you had to go all the way up and take a right on the Ohio to move.
right to get to Cleveland and
Yep.
all of that up there. Right. So basically St. Louis was the last stop north. So if you
Mhm.
wanted to reach the northern United States, the big ships couldn't go up to Minnesota. You had to get out on land. So St. Louis attracted all sorts of wealth that it otherwise wouldn't have gotten because the merchants were here and you had to outfit people for the trip. Out of shoe companies, boot companies, all of that kind of stuff. Anybody who wanted to venture west, this was the name of the city. The slogan is the gateway to the West. So they didn't even have to think about it. Commerce was just happening. It was just exploding. All right. And the point of all this is we had two daily papers, the Post-Dispatch and the Globe-Democrat. The Globe-Democrat came out in the morning, the Post-Dispatch was the afternoon paper. But neither of them was the paper of record. The paper of record supplied their editorial point of view
Mhm.
and fed them articles via teletype and then via railroad and that sort of thing so we could set the story for the nation. And I mean, I would even imagine in those early days, some of that shit got on the Pony Express
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
went and
Yeah. When you look at it, so like, I'll use the New York Post as example. Washington Post would be the second.
right,
You would see those stories hit as we expanded west. You would see them hit the western parts of the United States as much as a week later, but they
right.
would get the same story because these were the papers of record. And I really just want to impose what how important a paper of record was compared to your local journal.
Your local Post Dispatch,
Right.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And
So
they set the tone.
they set the tone, or as Walter Cronkite put it, they set the agenda, which is the same thing that the TV networks took from them
Yep.
when they started to do full broadcasts in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s. And Walter Cronkite himself said, "That's the way it is," to the entire nation.
Mhm.
I mean, a half an hour where he read you the headlines from the fucking New York Times. Can you imagine? In
That's what it
America,
was. That's all it
we,
was.
we trusted Cronkite. And he was celebrated, and they had the parties and the salons of New York and all this celebration for a mediocrity like Cronkite, who had a cool voice.
Mhm.
That's all it was. It was a flim flam from the jump.
He
And
was.
yet
I know it was televised, but he was, because of his voice, the most significant radio DJ ever,
ever. Yeah.
ever. Even though there was a picture associated with the voice and you could see him.
Right? Listen, people took comfort from it. I
Yeah.
as a young boy, I remember watching his broadcast. I mean, when I was 15, he was still delivering the evening news on CBS, 1977, 1978, before the poser from Texas took over for him. And you remember that big generational change, and even 12, 15 years later, Cronkite was sending in his regrets. Oh, I think I left the scene a little too early. I really like setting the agenda for the nation. I'm like, you windbag. I mean, I was already listening to Rush Limbaugh then, and
Well,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, now I see this for what it was.
Say,
And
so
I
what?
mean, even LBJ. If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost America.
No, you haven't, but
Oh my
okay.
god. And all he was doing was reading you headlines from the New York Times. Do you realize how much power was
What?
involved in that?
What? All right, so explain talking head, because the term I don't think is understood well. And Cronkite was a talking head. He didn't do any work in any journalism whatsoever. He was a
He
talking head.
he basically got the New York Times and read you the headlines. That's what he did. None of that, none of that was him.
Dan, when
You what the
teleprompters already existed at that point.
right,
So he's reading a script.
reading the newspaper.
It's a script. Yeah, it's a newspaper, but it's a script.
The
He's writing a script.
Sean,
They're
the
artists.
closest
They are artists. They now different than maybe a sitcom artist. They're artists, but they're also reading a script.
I had a near religious experience during the lawfare. I in this context, you'll understand it. All right, that pusillanimous pipsqueak Marshawn, whose daughter was grifting millions of dollars in contributions to get Trump. Remember?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so he put an illegal gag order on Trump in his trial.
Mhm.
Now, the defendant never gets a gag order because you have the First Amendment. So it's a very audacious and rogue judge that would gag a defendant from defending himself. So, how could Trump evade the gag order? You know what I'm about to talk about, right?
Yes,
It
please
was,
do.
this was, there are moments when you might be doubting Trump or whatever. And then there's moments when he just makes you understand who he is. And this was that moment for me. He comes walking into that screwball's courtroom, and he's in the outer chamber, and of course, anytime he walks in, he's the show, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
You've never seen anything like it, I mean, this is not Ted Cruz, this is not John Kasich, I mean, no, they can't do this. This is Donald Trump. He's
I
got the
can't.
blue suit on, he's got the red tie. He comes in, he brandishes the New York Post. And and he holds
Snaps
it
it a
up,
couple
and
times,
he opens it
and then he
up.
turns it around. He's like,
Yes! He shows it to the camera. He says, "So this is not me." He says, "This is a headline in the New York Post." And he starts reading it. And I was as transfixed with his performance there as I was with Cronkite on the evening news, and I was roaring with laughter. I mean, I was crying. It was so good. Okay? Because there was no way that pipsqueak Marshawn could do anything to him. And he absolutely walked right around the barricade and set off a 30 kiloton nuke in that pussy's courtroom. That's alpha dog shit,
you know,
folks. I mean, there's never been another like
here's the here's the so Donald Trump grew up when media started to be televised and radio, and he was successful in it. I mean, dude, if you look at the numbers of The Apprentice, that show was an
Well,
absolute
I was transfixed by it. It
banger.
was fantastic.
I love the show personally, and I would beg to tell you that most Democrats probably were too. It
Of course
was
they
a
were. They
great
loved him.
show.
They loved him until he said he was a Republican.
But when I do remember that when he came in, he says, I got a gag order." And he's like, "I'm just gonna read a couple of
Yeah.
newspapers to you." And the whole media went, "What the fuck?" Like,
Sean, it
and what they
became
don't
it
get is that he is the master of media, and he even is with I get True Social sucks, but
not
people
necessarily.
take his post from True Social and spread it across the world, and everyone goes, "Oh." Right?
As as he knew they would. And when he mentioned he was starting Truth Social, I said, "Oh, you know, it's just so it's stupid. It's not going to work. You know, blah 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 blah." And it was the smartest thing he ever did
It works.
because he has a place where he can talk. No one is ever going to filter him. No one is ever going to edit him. No one is ever going to shadow ban him. He can say whatever he wants, and it'll get worldwide coverage within a second after he hits submit. Who else would think to do that? I thought that he should buy a TV network, but they could have taken him off the spectrum. They could have suppressed him because
He
he wouldn't
created
own it.
one. He created one.
Right. Right. He did. And it was freaking brilliant. And once again, he's two steps ahead of me. I thought he ought to buy OAN or something like that. No, no, he didn't call and ask. You know, yeah, it's all right. I forgive you, Donald. It's all right.
Well, there is
Those of you
something
who
that
wanna challenge me, go right ahead in the chat. Go right ahead.
well, there's also something to be said about you and I.
Yeah,
If you if you're looking to run for a local office, I don't care if it's dog catcher or school board. Uh, it, yes, we do charge, but I have said this before.
we'll,
If
we'll
you
get you
want,
elected.
if you want to be elected, we will get you absolutely get you elected.
Yeah.
But we charge for it. So,
Right, right, right. But we know the language. We know the language of the people, and we understand their rhyme and meter. Fair enough. We can break through the white noise.
we absolutely can. Uh, yeah, Trump. Going back to Trump, again, the most amazing guy on the planet when it comes to American politics ever is because he understood the media way before they could grasp him, and they still can't grasp him. They still cannot figure him out. And he's like, "All right, I'll just drop another banger." And it goes worldwide, and then NBC or CBS or you know what I've got I'm actually kind of okay with Barry Weiss on CBS. We can talk about the I know, but I'm okay with it. It's at least showing the super boomers, the really old boomers, both sides of the story at least a little bit.
It's
But
an
that
improvement. I'll give you that.
that Trump, well, she's not a Republican.
I know.
She's a
She's
truther.
a okay, Sean. She's a New York Jew. Okay, she's a liberal. All
Yeah,
right.
of course.
Yeah. I mean, let's call a spade, but she's not a leftist.
Right.
Fair? Right.
And so, Donald Trump had already mastered media. And so when all these people come up to try to fight him in the media, he's just like, click, click, click. I win.
The reason why Howard Stern, a previous ally of Trump or someone who thought he was fun to joust with or whatever, ended up hating him with a blind purple passion is because Stern called himself the king of all media. And when he encountered the real king of all media. He was humiliated and he can't stand it. So now he's a never Trump hater, which is what all of the people who are bested by Trump turn into.
Yes.
On a much smaller scale,
Well,
many of us have
yeah,
encountered.
well, no, but look at human behavior. They truly believed they were the most important thing in
In the
media.
world.
The
Right.
Howard Stern being the Howard Stern show, or it could be, I know everyone's gonna laugh, The View. They think they're the most important place in media, or Rachel Maddow. I know that's not her name, but
How
she's
many
really
how
mad
many how
now.
many how many
Or
hen houses
or or
are you gonna
or
name?
or Don Lemon.
How many hen houses are you gonna name?
Well, Don Lemon is like
Well, no, he's the chocolate hen house.
the
All
kid.
right.
Man, that guy.
By the way, he'll get listen, if they would incarcerate him, he'd get a lot more action than he's been getting from his husband.
Like the guy's not a journalist.
He's a
Hell,
degenerate.
he never has been.
He's a
Uh,
degenerate.
he's not. Yeah, he's a degenerate activist. That's it. That's it.
Yes.
So, for those of you, well, you probably don't
I
listen to
know I
me.
know it's shocking that I'm not a supporter of Don Lemon. I hate
Never
to
been.
disappoint all of you who thought I would be. But freedom of religion is very important, and he showed uh,
First,
callous
and
bar
that is in the First Amendment.
yes, and he showed callous, barbaric disrespect for people of faith. And to their credit, the U.S. Department of Justice seems to have taken that one seriously.
Finally,
Give them credit where it's due.
I
They
do.
that one
I
they took
do.
seriously.
I
Now you
do.
say, well, those aren't big fish. No, they may not be big fish, but that is a big deal. If leftists think they have a license to do that, we don't have a civilization. All right.
Nope.
So they do understand that that is truly sacred ground and you cannot do that.
Well,
Or else
I don't know. I hopefully I've got a name for your next account, but hopefully they realize that this country was actually founded by separatists. And if you really want to vaguely put it, the Protestants, but they were separatists. They were separating from the Church of England. They
I
wanted
mean,
to worship God in the way they saw fit, and the Church of England would not allow that, or
you
the
remember
Roman Catholic Church, or the Russian Catholic Church, or Orthodox Church. And I'm not banging on Russia, but if they do have an Orthodox Church.
they
Uh,
do.
and then when you get in all this, what the basic conception of the foundation of the country was before the revolution, 200 years well, about 150 years before the revolution, was we just want to be left alone to worship God the way that we see fit. And you go, well, there's nothing over there. They're like, well, that's fine. We'll build it. We'll
Yeah,
build it.
we'll
We
build
will
out of
settle the
out of
land. And
out of nothing.
the whole
Yeah.
retarded argument of conquering, we didn't conquer shit. We settled
We
it.
settled it and we bought it and we earned. Sorry,
Yeah.
not sorry. That's what happened.
And then you go back, and that's why I've explained why Russia watched that happen and go, let's be friends, bro.
Do you realize what was in those people that motivated them to do that? Can you just imagine for a minute? I mean, I think about I look, this is personal to those of you out there who don't know me that well. I actually am a lot more humble than I used to be. Trying to get young ladies to come to work. You'll find out how much power you have. Okay? Not much. Okay, I mean, you can influence the people that are around you or whatever, but the idea that you've got a large enough vision that you're going to take land, raw nature, and subdue it the same way that God promised Adam that you will subdue creation, because that's what we're talking about. Here's all the raw
There
material.
was nothing
Nothing,
here. Nothing.
nothing. Okay. Uh, you got a circular saw? Nah, don't have one of those. You might have an axe. You may be able to start a fire. Okay. You may be able to get a few rocks together. You might have a rudimentary. You might
You
be
can
able to
kill
cut wood
you can
once you
kill
chop it down, but
you can kill
that's
some
kind of a
game
summer.
you can kill some game with arrows, but you're
Yeah,
gonna run out of arrows.
that's a summer project, isn't it?
It's a
I mean,
totally a
seriously,
summer project.
you don't even have any fresh water to drink. You gotta find it. And
Yes.
it's November. I mean, it may not even be flowing. It
In
may
the
be
North Atlantic, it's
yeah,
November.
fucking frozen. I mean, you're talking about courage that is off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 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 then to have it the 50% of you die. And then instead of getting in the boat and trying to go back and save your ass, you redouble your efforts and reform your government and figure out what you're doing wrong.
And the Mayflower left because it was contracted, so now you have
Right,
no way to get home.
right. And and nobody filibustered your solution. I mean, it was up to you. You didn't have to get five additional weak-kneed Republicans to agree with you on anything. It was either do this or perish. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. And those are the people that are being denigrated by these worthless sons of bitches that all they want to do is complain about the United States while they subdue us with fraud and graft.
I think that that's what upsets me the most, and I try not to get upset with what happens online, because if you get into a mindset where I'm just gonna go fight every battle, you're going to consume your mind, and it's a poison, you shouldn't do it. But when I watch people talk about this whole Billie Eilish,
Oh,
whatever story, right? Hold on.
right, but
I start them on the story of William Bradford. It's like, do you really have no idea about the founding of the country? And they have no idea. And they're like,
no,
well,
they had no idea.
wasn't the country founded by, George Washington and Thomas Edison and James Adams? Says, well, th- hold on. There's a whole 150 years before that.
There's a whole 150-year culture that formed those men.
Yes.
And there's a, I know we're running a little over, but I'm gonna do this just for a minute. There's a book that I would recommend called From Plato to NATO. It was written by David Gress. I read it in the 90s, so it's a little bit dated, but
Alright.
it talked about the battle for Western civilization. And David Gress, the author, was saying that before we start trying to save Western civilization, let's look at what it is and where it came from. And the whole idea that it was a fusion of Greek rationalism, Roman order, and Christian sacrifice. That makes as much sense to me as anything. The
Okay.
fact that a hero is someone who does his duty when there may not be any payoff in it for him, like Christ himself. Sacrifice yourself for sin so others can be freed from their sin. Okay. And that's the model we work through and we look for those people to admire.
What
But these are the things that form the basis of the individual being entitled to keep the fruits of their own labor. And without
Yes.
that, would William Bradford ever have the insights to do that? Because obviously, without the Protestant Reformation and my man Martin, the original Martin,
Right.
no. The answer would be no, because that wouldn't be thought of. And Henry VIII threw off the Pope, which strangely enough probably helped because because it gave others the thought that maybe the Pope doesn't know everything. Maybe this Luther
Well,
guy is
and
on this.
The Pope also had a huge army.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it was a Holy Roman Empire. That's what it was. I mean, it was
Yes.
with a friggin' military. It's not like a judge today who says, "Oh, you can't do that," and you can say, "Well, what army are you going to use to stop me?" No, the Pope actually had an army. So if he said that's not allowed, he could back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the cross currents that the Protestants were coming out of, and they couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. That's what it boils down to, and the fact that they that strong of an urge that they'd rather die than go back. Think
Yeah.
about that.
Yes.
Those were the
In
those were the
frigid northern Atlantic waters.
right. Those were the people that had the character that formed this nation. That's who we are.
And we celebrate the founders, but you will hear me always talk about William Bradford, the separatist, is they were the actual founding. And, when we get into the we I will talk revolution all day long. Those men were super important, very courageous. Same as I will talk about Civil War with you. But when you come to my founding as a human being and we're Americans,
I mean,
why we're the best country in the world, it's
what
because
is
of the separatists.
what you're asking about is what is American character,
Yeah.
right? And it didn't come just from French intellectuals like Montesquieu and like Levin tries to tell you the Enlightenment. No, it came from the rugged cussedness of people that absolutely would rather take their chance on dying and
Dra-
come here to carve out the existence they wanted as opposed to submitting to their king.
He didn't even care at the time that they had a king. They were pissed off at their king because their king said they could only worship in a specific way.
Right,
That is why all of this happened and America was created. And
right.
to all the people who listen and you're like, I don't believe in God, or what, like, listen, we are telling you actual history. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
asking you to believe in God, I hope you can,
What
but
Sean is talking about what Sean is talking about is the crucible in which American character was forged.
Mhm. And there was people, I will tell you, on the Mayflower, they did not believe in God, but they for some reason, they thought, there's a path forward in the new world, and I'm not mad at them. Most of them died. A couple of them, lived on. We could go through those stories. If you guys wanna go through that part of history, I would love to do that. I could do the revolution, I could do the Civil War, I can do anything modern. It doesn't matter to me. But when I look at America, I look back to William Bradford and that forward. Anything behind that, including Jamestown, where everybody died in Jamestown. I don't I don't look at that because it wasn't successful. And
No, it
why
wasn't.
wasn't
And
it
it had
successful? Because they were trying to run it as a socialist camp,
right.
a common store, a communist store where everybody gets one share.
It ended up Jamestown ended up like communism always ends up. I
Yes.
mean, every time it's tried, that's how it ends up. So you can write it off. Yes, they were on the continent. No, they didn't last. And you know, who was the woman? Was it Pocahontas there or whatever? Who the hell knows? It doesn't even matter. It was a blip. It didn't matter. It was inconsequential. However, the reason I brought up David Gress's book about From Plato to NATO, and thank you, Sean, because what you put in there really brings the point home. What he did in that book was he examined all the stages of the Middle Ages and talked about how the fall of the Roman Empire wasn't just this one battle, it was attrition. It was the Teutonic warriors from the Black Forest uh, having enough of the BS up there and then charging south to grab the Italian women and and fight. Yeah, and that's what they do and fighting their way through. All right, and that's why southern Germany and northern Italy are the most potent industrial force in the European world right now because of the hybrid vigor associated with the union of those two cultures. And that's why to this day, uh, Italians are great operations managers in factories, and Germans are often the technologists. I mean, Henry Ford created the assembly line, the Germans created the Mercedes. I mean, I'm a German honk, of course. I mean, going back to Luther, but obviously the Germans have all sorts of problems too with authoritarianism and all the rest of that. And I don't make any apology for that. I just do believe that we have objective truth, and I think we should strive for it. And I don't think that it always depends on one thing or another. So you can call me a misogynist if you want, but I do think there actually is a right answer, and that includes my scientific orientation. And the most disgusting thing about the last 5 years is it seems like they've asked us all to just suspend belief on all of that because now the experts say that everything we knew to be true about science and virology is out the window because they've got a vaccine that they want to make $100 billion on. And I can't tell you how disappointing and disgusted and discouraged I am from that sort of graft.
Did the Japanese, who are they are so good at precision, did the Japanese adopt what the rest of the world did during climatology, or sorry, vaccinology? Did I don't know, did they?
No,
Why is that?
because it wasn't true.
Alright. So,
It
and look
wasn't
and
true.
look and look, we're talking wartime things. The Japanese started World War II with America, but they also like, we're saying we should be friends with Russia. We should also be friends with Japan, and Trump's working on that. It's good.
No, no, no.
It's
I
all
know,
good.
I know, I know.
It's
Trump
all good.
gets that too.
But the Japanese people as a culture looked at COVID and they're like,
Uh-uh.
"What?
Yeah,
The whole world's retarded. We're not playing." They didn't
and it
play.
was, and obviously the Japanese are not long-term adherents to the Commonwealth, are they? No, they're not.
Never
And
will
you'll find
be.
you'll find that dividing line right there.
Never will be, but you could absolutely create a union of, Japan, Russia, Hungary, and about 6 other nations with America, and just totally eliminate the World Health Order, the
You want to talk about
UN, and my biggest thing I want to eliminate is NATO.
the New World Order? You just named it. If people have enough vision to do it.
Well, that is the New World Order, but not to the
Yes.
people who believe they are New World Order.
Yeah, well, we won't be in Davos, I can tell you that.
They will be in Trump's ballroom.
Now the question is, how much of this does Vance understand?
I think he does. I think
Yeah,
he
I
does.
think he does too. And that's why the steal was providential. Because remember who Trump's running mate was in 2020?
Mm.
If they hadn't stolen it, it would be Mike Pence, the world's foremost Indianan.
He is, and he's awful. I think it was even a mistake to pick him up in 16. It but it was familiar to Republicans. He was familiar to Republicans. I was
Listen,
getting
listen,
text messages in 2016 before the election from, family members in, like, California or on the East Coast, and they're like, "Well, obviously you're a Hoosier. What do you know about Mike Pence?" And I was like, "He's milquetoast. He'll just
sucks. Yeah.
he'll be milquetoast." And they go, "Okay." And they were I think they were honestly just looking at it. They weren't gonna vote for Trump to begin with, but they're just looking at it to see, well, how easy it is to defeat him. I was like, but it doesn't matter because it's Trump. It really is. Why it matters now is because his second term, and I already told you who the first president who had a
Well,
divided.
okay, here's why it's important now. Because the only strategy that's worked for Democrats, I can't believe we're still going, but I this needs to be said. The only strategy that's really worked for Democrats versus Trump, other than stealing elections, which is obviously a big caveat,
Mhm.
is to dribble out the clock.
Yeah.
The first thing they decided to do once they realized that he was actually going to be inaugurated was to dribble out his first term. And what they did was they got Jeff Sessions out of there, who was far weaker even than Pam Bondi, if you can imagine.
Uh-huh.
And Rod Rosenstein was a deep state goon. He was he makes Todd Blanche look like Edward R. Murrow. Okay, so yeah, all right. Rosenstein appoints Mueller as special counsel, which was really appointing Andrew Weissman as special counsel. And from the minute that that investigation started, the purpose of that investigation was to drag past the midterms to give the Congress back to the Democrats.
Yep.
That was the whole purpose. And as soon as they figured out that Trump was going to be exonerated, they had to come up with the next plan, which was Charmela Vinman and the Ukraine phone call, which was impeachment one.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And even though the Department of Justice had possession of Hunter's laptop the entire time, Barr and Chris Wray let the whole fucking thing drag on all the way to all the way basically to the election. And
Yep.
then they stole the election, and then because of J6, Trump got impeached again, for God's sake. And if he would have pardoned Snowden or if he'd have pardoned Julian Assange, they'd have removed him from office so he could never run again. And that's what was hanging over his head.
Yep.
That's what happened in his
Yep.
first term. And the only significant legislation he got through was a reconciliation bill to cut the taxes and his economic program that he talks about. And that was with the rhinos because it had the corporate tax cuts in it that they wanted. All right.
Yeah.
That was 2000. That was a survey of 2016 to 2019. And if you factor in that Paul Rhino and bitch McCommunist did not appropriate one penny for a border wall, and then Trump did what Democrats always do, declared an emergency and grabbed the money wherever he could and built the fucking thing himself. And that's the only way. I mean, they had to be looking at this going, this is not a normal Republican.
Right?
he fights.
Well,
So,
it's not a normal president post Carter, right?
right,
That's the
right. This
they
is
were all
not, this
they
is,
were all expecting Carter. We'll just post Carter. We're all just gonna be sitting in the zombie zone and
right,
basically not do really anything to help America, but we'll rob them of their taxes to help the third world, which we called nation building.
And if they start getting uppity, we'll send in Candy Crowley in the debate to make them curl up
Well,
in the
we
fetal
might we
position.
might even start a war or two, which the
Right,
Bushes were successful in, and then Obama's like, "I don't need to start a war. I'll just drop bombs on them."
right. But then France started Libya anyway, and we got involved in that. So, I mean, whatever. Okay. That was the look of relief on Goober Graham's face the night they counted the electoral votes, where he talked about how he was done with Trump. Now, why Trump still endorses that Uh,
I don't know.
no, I don't wanna
I don't know.
describe
I
Lindsay,
don't know.
alright?
I don't know.
We won't be able to stay on YouTube if I say what I think
Nope.
about him.
Nope.
Anyway, they thought they were done with him, and when they heard he was thinking about running again, then they started to float out the idea of, "Well, if you agree not to run again, we won't prosecute you for all your crimes," and it no, screw you. So here he comes, and then here comes Jack Smith, and who spent even more money than Mueller and found the same thing. Nothing. It's really remarkable. They tried to sentence this man to 700 years in federal prison. Can you imagine what that felt like? You're going into the election night, when you know they're going to try to steal it like they did last time, and you watch them do it. And you know that if you aren't declared the winner, you're going to Rikers Island to die in prison. And if you do win, you're going to the White House.
Mm.
How
So
do you describe it?
my thoughts there are is everybody should realize that coming up into the midterms. And for everyone that goes, I'm pissed off about Lindsey Graham, that's the guy you were talking about, or I'm pissed off about Ron Paul or Thomas Massey, and
Our
I'm just going to
food.
sit this one out. What I want to tell all of you is that podcasters like me and John, we will go to jail if the Democrat Party wins. We will.
Oh, there's enough.
It started with Trump, but then it went to J6, and it
That
just
won't be
kept
where it
getting it
ends.
progressively got worse. And if you wanna hear if you wanna hear stuff that we talk about, no, you won't be able to hear it because we will be in prison for talking the way we do. Am I
Okay.
wrong?
No, you're right. And I'll tell you how I know. Personal experience. As you know, I have historically been a small business owner for as long as I've been on this podcast. In fact, I've done a couple of podcasts from the business.
Mhm.
Okay. My entry onto X, the platform, or Twitter as it was previously called, was during the COVID response,
Mhm.
where I began to realize how much was wrong. I was a local activist. I was concerned with mask mandates and lockdowns in the St. Louis metro area. No, I'm still not telling you where I live. But if you look at videotapes of the St. Louis County Council, you will see me
Mhm.
heckling public officials and talking about how crazy it is that this girl in Virginia had to get a heart transplant because of a vaccine mandate, and how people were being damaged by this, and how in the fucking world can you guys vote to subject county employees to a vaccine mandate with no compensation fund? It's irresponsible. It's against all medical ethics. And yet I know you're going to do it anyway because you're a bunch of fucking Democrats, all right? I mean that's how it went. Who do you think the next person was that showed up at my business? The pharmacy inspector.
Of course.
Of course, a women's studies professor, I kid you not, in California at a junior college, didn't like my performance on Twitter and sent the State Board of Pharmacy in to question me about my unabashed medical commentary. and promotion of ineffective treatment methods. In other words, the stuff that kept your ass out of the hospital.
Mhm.
If the pharmacy board is going to come after me for saving people's lives,
Who
what do you think's
who
going to
hold
happen
on, hold
if
on.
the Demo
So, the pharmacy boards, I will tell you, are controlled by states. Who controls the pharmacy boards?
you
I wanna I'm just throwing information out there. The
Sean, who controls the
pharmacy
ADA?
licensing boards. So, wait, if your daughter wants to do cosmetology, there's a licensing board. Or
That's right.
if there's licensing it's retarded, but hear me out. There's licensing boards for all kinds of jobs. Pharmacy is one of them, including just a pharmacy technician, but pharmacists also have to pass this pharmacy
Right.
board licensing group by taking a 3-hour online test
Yes.
to prove that they're capable of doing the job. And there's a little bit of math in it. I'm telling you because I've personally taken the test and I passed it. And there's some other stuff in there.
What a relief. Right.
Yeah, right, right. So they make whether it's a pharmacy tech or a manager of pharmacy or a pharmacist, they have to go take this bullshit test, and it really is. And you pass it, and you go, "Yay!" And the pharmacy licensing board or the state, sorry, licensing board goes, "Here, you get a certificate. You're now allowed to work in this
Right.
field."
How about that? And if you are not in favor with the licensing board, guess what happens to you?
Mm.
Same thing that happened to the barber in Michigan who spoke out against Gretchen Whitmer's license lockdowns and got his license pulled, right? That's one of the liberals' favorite words now. That's called fascism. All right. And basically I considered the inspection from the pharmacy board to be a fascist tactic. Because I wasn't even practicing pharmacy. I was talking about medication on Twitter.
Right.
All right. Listen, you don't have to use a lot of imagination to figure out what's coming if we lose this. That's all.
No, I get it. I was simply explaining how it actually is.
Well, and frankly, let's go back to the Protestants. I'd rather die and go to jail than succumb.
Well, I think that's one of the most important things that we're seeing because there are a lot of people who maybe they don't even know Christ because they don't understand what the knowledge we are going to tell everybody on the podcast of what William Bradford was, and but that they just know that this is wrong and I want to fight the government. And you shouldn't really fight Trump. There's some issues. We got
Oh,
both of
yeah.
us have issues with Trump
He's a
that we're like,
corporatist. I mean, he's a
eh,
big business guy. Of course he is. Yeah.
yeah, but in general, what you're actually fighting if you're on our team is fascism. You're
Yes.
not the fascist. You are not the fascist.
I gotta
They
tell you,
are.
Renee
Yeah.
Good, Renee Good, and Alex Pretty are the fascists. Those are the fascist
Dude,
stormtroopers.
the signal groups, it's all
Yeah.
tied together. Like they're in the signal groups. It's
Yeah.
all tied together.
Flanagan, that freaking crazy ass lieutenant governor in Minnesota. I mean, those people are degenerates. Sorry, they just are.
Yeah.
Not sorry. I mean, puts on her hijab to talk about how important Somalians are to her. Come on.
So a friend of ours, you guys will know him on the podcast, Edward. I had a great podcast with him last night. I don't know if we'll ever agree to agree, but we love Edward, and we're hanging out with him. And one of the funny things, I was like, he's like, obviously, he just uses terms like libtarbs and other things, and I was like, you're not quite connecting it yet. This
No,
comes from Karl Marx.
right, his
And
Marxist
you
ideology.
guys are missing it because this is just being programmed, and one of the things I've said over and over and over again, even to feminists, they're like, "Oh, feminism didn't start till the late '60s." No, it started post World War II
Rosie the
in the
Riveter.
1950s with Rosie the Riveter, and then you could just walk your way through history and watch this as a self-replicating movement.
And it just
I'm
takes
gonna
different
fight
forms.
I'm gonna fight the evil power, but you're actually fighting for the evil power.
Patriarchy! Patriarchy, the enemy!
Mm,
Yeah,
you're gonna fight for
anyway.
well, I'm gonna fight against racism. Really? I can provide you links to many
Reached its
black
reached its zenith.
that many
Anti-racism
many
reached
black
its
people that are actually pro.
reached its zenith with George Floyd, and they had their execution, they had their crucifixion of Saint Floyd,
Ro
and we
Rosa
all waited to
Rosa
see what
Rosa
sort of
Parks Rosa Parks was a trained
yeah,
Marxist.
and we waited to see
Ah, you know, everyone's gonna go, "What?"
what's
No, trained
what sort
Marxist.
of civilization the anti-racist would build that would be such a great improvement as a result, and you know what it was?
Did you
Buckus.
know Rosa Parks actually tried that event 5 times before it took?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Does
Anyway,
anyone else know that?
Sean, I promised you an extra 30 minutes, and I think I've gone an extra hour and 15.
Yeah, let's go. Let's close it out.
I love all you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
We love you guys. We'll see you when we see you.